Welcome, everybody, to Catfish Weekly. Along with James Smith, I'm Lyle Stokes. And James, we're going to have a great show tonight with Ryan Bortz. We'll get to that in just a second. I've got one tournament result announcement to go over, sent to me by Brad Becks, the Master Bait and Tackle Catfish Tournament Trail. First place was Lockridge and Reasoner. Won $300. Total weight 52.14 pounds. I'm pretty sure this was all channel cats, and their big fish was 15.11 pounds. Second place is Wallace and Wallace, $230, 52 pounds, and 15.12 pounds big fish. Third place, DeBusk and Parrish, 50.15 pounds. Big fish is 14.07 pounds. Fourth place was Holding and Wood, 47.05 pounds, and fifth place was Smith and Marmazy, I think, 41 pounds, 41.02 pounds, and the big fish was 9.09. Two teams didn't weigh. They had Becks and Becks got 6 or 26 pounds, and big fish of 12.14. Sounds like they had a good time for a tournament held on a holiday weekend.
On them channel cat tournaments, they're usually a 5-fish tournament, right?
It depends. Most of them, yeah. Now, back years ago, they used to have 7 fish limits on a lot of them, but that's kind of went by the wayside. Right. That would be like having 5 giants, and I don't understand where these tournament directors need to stick their hands down real firmly and snatch their head out of their asses over these weights, 5 fish limits on these places where they got 60, 70, 80, 100-pound fish, because there's no friggin' way if you don't have overs and unders and slot deals that you can keep 5 fish in a live well on any boat. I don't care what brand it is. You just can't. And the ones that are allowing trailering and beating them fish to death going up and down these roads and these hot days like this, they should go. There's nothing you can do to them guys that'll punish them enough for what they're doing to them fish. It's just ridiculous.
Right, and I know I want to do a show with you one night and get somebody on here, maybe Jeff Manning or Dieter or somebody that's been in the business a long time, and talk about summertime tournament. Because we found some studies. Now, don't get me wrong, the studies was on the largemouth bass. But the largemouth bass is a sunfish, which still makes it a pretty hardy fish. Mm-hmm. But they found out that once the water reaches 70 degrees, Lyle, that the death toll drastically goes up. I mean, the scale almost goes straight up.
That's fact.
So, that's something that maybe there's some more studies that need to be done. The more I learn about this, the more I don't like the summertime tournaments that are put in live wells. Now, like with Ryan and them doing the way they do, they catch the fish, they measure it, and that fish is released right then.
Yeah, but that's in a true tournament. In a kayak, you got to do it that way.
Right.
There's so many of them, you can't stand up and weigh the fish. But to get a true measurement on a fish is through scales.
But what I'm saying is, though, all they're doing is measure length. They're not even worried about girth because they're not even going by weight. They're just going by total length of the fish.
Yep.
So that takes the weight completely out of the picture.
Oh, I couldn't do that. I mean, I've been weighing fish for 40 years. There ain't no way I could do that. Because you get one of the little short fat ones.
Out.
Yeah, I understand where you're going with, but you get one of them little short fat ones that weigh 30 pounds and one of them long skinny ones that weigh 28.
But it don't matter.
It don't matter the way they do it.
Right.
But it'd kill me. Right. I couldn't do that. I just couldn't do that.
As I've seen some of them females come off the nest and they go out there in about a day and they'll load up full of muscle and they'll look like they about ready to bust.
Or they'll find them a spot full of shad about this long and they'll eat every one of them in a half-acre thing that they can get in their gut and they can't hardly swim away.
Yeah.
But
look about like me and you pushing away from the Thanksgiving table, don't it?
Well, yeah, that's exactly right. Or
riding. How you doing, my friend?
I'm great, buddy. I'm hot.
How long did you say you'd been out there?
I got here at 7 o'clock this morning. It was 8 o'clock when the show started my time. So
You've been out there a long time.
yeah, I put in a ton of hours. Our national championship, we call it the King Cat, is this month, and the way we do that, it's broke up into. There was 10 of us qualified, so they broke it up into 2 groups of 5. That's Pool A and Pool B. All right, Pool A fishes against each other for 10 days for the first. Pool B fishes against each other for the first 10 days, and then got one. Leave him alone. He'll be here in a minute. But groups of 5, and then the top 2 out of each group, the second 10 days of the month, from the 11th to the 20th, we will fish against us 4. Whoever, well, I say us, whoever makes it, and then after that, it'll be down to 2. The top 2 in that will fish against each other from the 21st to the 30th, and whoever wins that will decide your King Cat champion of the year.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it adds a lot to it though, because it's you got 2 under 32 inches and then 2 over, and then just like I fish all kinds of tournaments. I'm in 2 different ones right there, 2 other ones right now online, and they're my 5 biggest fish for the whole month. So if I target these 32-inch fish under 32, 31 3/4 is the biggest they're allowed to measure for this. For my underfish, then I'm taking away from my tournament time that I'm fishing for the other tournaments. So it's all a gamble. And then I've got that tournament in Ohio the last day of our 10 days. So the 10th, we've got that Channel Cat tournament. I'm kind of banking on that to get my 2 unders in that Channel Cat tournament. You know, I've been
That'd be good channels then.
Well, I've been up there 3 times, and every time I've been up there, I've had at least 2 in the 30-inch range.
Dang right.
So, but the Ohio State record runner-up flathead come out of that lake.
I hear you.
A Cohen Lake in Ohio. I didn't know that till the second tournament we fished up there. We do a tournament up there every other month, and it's big boats, kayaks, bank, whatever.
I hear you.
You can get there, 2-rod limit, most inches out. I think it's 3-fish limit.
All right. Before we get started too far, Lyle, let's go ahead and shout out some people if you don't mind.
Yeah, hang on just a second. I seen something in here that I thought was a something that we should bring up. After a holiday weekend, Mr. Gadget says, looks like a great day for Ryan fishing. Not seeing 500 boats. Well, around here, every lake was jam-packed all weekend. And it's refreshing to look out behind him and not see anything for a ways.
Well, you can't see it on the camera, but this place is covered in debris right now because of all the rain. We had like 5.5 inches of rain Thursday, and it brought the lake
wow.
foot. And then they dropped trying to get back down for this holiday weekend. And all the trash that was floating, it's just up in this area of the lake. So it's kept all the pleasure boaters away from me today.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, James, let's find out who all's in chat.
Well, I want to say happy 4th of July to everybody. I hope y'all had a blessed one. And remember why we got this 4th of July. We're the only country in the world that celebrates 4th of July. God bless you. God bless your families. I seen Abbott was the first one in here tonight, Lyle.
He was. He beat me in here.
Did yeah, Philip Williams, Sean T. Outdoors, Brian B. Catfish, Muskrat, Country Boy, Surviving 812. That's my friend out there, Mr. Maurice. Let me scan down and see who you got, Lyle.
I got Josh, the weekend angler, a new dad, Mike Sherman, Mike Chavez, fishing with the squirrels, 2 stands, Nebraska kayak anglers, Justin Fishing Fetish, Country Boy Catfishing, Sean T. Outdoors, Mark with Catfish and Crappie. going to have a good guest on his show when we get done, Austin Higgins. You guys can stop and check that out. What else you got?
I see a crazy crappy cat angler. That's a mouthful. Take down catfishing with Kenneth Powell, a Philip Williams, Dale Hayslip, Big John. That's a new one to me.
I think he was in here last week.
He might have been. If y'all were, and I say your name again, sorry about that. We want to make sure we get you shouted out. Fins and Fines. There's Tom Harris, a.k.a. Papa T.
We got Ernie Brown and Lee Reed, Uncle Lou, Sean T. Outdoors, Sean Abney,
Justin Fishing Fetish,
The Bullock Experience,
Mr.
Mike
Gadget.
Chavez. I think I said him a while ago.
Yeah, Mr. Gadget and the Squirrels in the house. I still love that thing he made for me, Lyle.
That was gorgeous, man.
Yeah. I think what I'm gonna put it in was my father-in-law. We inherited his old long 45 long coat.
Oh yeah, that'd be nice.
That'd look good sitting in it.
Heck yeah, there's Betty Jean Cross. Tall Betty, Big Slim 91. Philip Williams.
Brad Becks. I'm trying to catch any
Brad's
names.
so good about sending them tournament results for us every week. Whenever they have results, he always gets them to me. Reese Cason.
Sunfish Assassin.
Take down Catfish and Kenneth Powell.
Yeah, there's Kelly in here from the Bullock Experience. I seen another name. There's Tim Molina. Where's that other one? Oh, Jay Fox Hunter.
Yep, he's another that's been in here a lot. We appreciate having you guys in here. Sunfish Assassin.
Gene Tillerman. That's about all I seen. There'll be some more pop in here. Lyle, I hope you and Cindy had a wonderful 4th. Me and the wife, we laid around and actually just had a faux day for 2 days and didn't get out of the AC much at all.
Yeah, that's kind of where we was at. We didn't do much. Brad sent me a message, said, yeah, I missed the intro. Yes, 5 fish limit, all was channel cats caught Saturday night. There was a couple of blues and some flatheads and geese, but not very many.
Right.
So, thanks, Brad. Appreciate that.
Yep. That Keith DeBose. Look like he's baiting up. You getting all baited up?
Yeah, I had Dink baiting on both rods at the same time.
Now, Ryan, before the show, you was telling us that you could probably fill up that kayak with small fish.
I could have probably filled up a truck bed with small fish today. It's hard of catching them. I mean, it's aggravating when you're looking for a big fish and you catch 100 little ones. You know what I mean?
Now that's okay if you're going out after some eating fish, but you're not after eating fish.
I mean, if you're just what I call play fishing or pleasure fishing or whatever, I mean, that's great. You know, action's action.
Yeah.
Fish fry. Running all these tournaments up at the same time. Every minute you spend with that dink on your line, that's a minute you ain't getting a big. I mean, if
that's right.
Hey, that's an hour that line was out of the water.
Yep.
There's 2 stands. Avid is in here.
Circle Hook Productions.
Circle Hook Production. That's a new one on me.
That's one of our tournament anglers.
Good deal. Cool. There's Richard Mad Catter Catfishing. We want to make sure that all you veterans or current duty military personnel, if you're interested in winning the rod rack that Richard made for us, please go to Catfish Weekly and sign up for that. We'll be giving that away the end of this month. So be sure to get signed up. The only thing you have to figure out is how to get it to you, and I'll be happy to meet you guys, whoever wins it, part way or something. But it's going to be hard to ship that thing, but we'll figure out how to get it if you win it.
Yep. Ryan, if you don't mind, go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you on social media.
Ryan Bortz is my Facebook. I don't have Instagram or TikTok, any of that other stuff.
Yeah, me neither.
I got a picture of me holding a big catfish. I mean, you can't miss it. My YouTube channel's Ryan Bortz Blue Collar Fishing. I ain't put a video out in a while. I did a couple lives, but it's hard to make videos when you're just catching these little fish.
Terry, do you know a gentleman by the name of Terry Pete Fish too?
I do not recognize it.
Well, he said, "Hey Ryan, what kind of bait and rigs are you using?"
I'm using Santee rigs on these 2 rods behind me. Boat went by, so I got weight. But there's Santee rigs with Santee drifters and these little cheap demon dragons. Just the little clear plastic ones is all I buy on Amazon. They're like 20 of them's $15.
Or do you have to clear coat them so they don't take on water? Because the ones I had get water in them.
They do in the back part where the little bead's at.
Yeah.
The part stays dry.
Yeah. I was dipping them in clear paint.
I thought about that, but I'm one of them that get something in my head, and that's just, it probably don't make no difference. But I feel like that paint smell might make something to it, the first few times you use it. Until
right.
Water and that soaks off of it. In my mind, that's how it works. And I realize it don't halfway make sense, but I've got it in my head, and that's just how it is.
Well, that's kind of like gas on your hands.
Yeah.
But I smell it, paint them outside and take them in the house 2 days later, then I can still smell that fresh paint.
That's right.
So why can't a fish?
I set mine out in the sun. I paint all mine black. I like the color black on all my demon dragons, and I'll set them out in the sun and let that sun just bake them son of a guns. Maybe throw them over in the dirt, kick them around in the dirt and stuff like that after that, and then wash them off. Usually that does pretty good. You can't smell it too good then, but still, I'm like you. I'm concerned about the gas smell, any chemical smell.
And my front 2 rods, I suspend them. I've got them just like in front of me here, just like the back ones, but they got Carolina rigs on them. And I'm usually suspending them, and I watch my fish finder close to see where to suspend at. If I'm seeing fish right on the bottom, I'm constantly adjusting with my depth, keep baits, right on the bottom. And if I'm seeing them up in the water column, reels are 18 inches a turn. It is what it said on the box. So I know every time I turn that reel handle, that's 18 inches up off the bottom.
Right.
And that's how I keep up with that. Normally, I'll start out. Where I come from up here is like 5 foot of water. I'll fish 3 foot of water a lot of times.
Right.
I'm doing that. I try to stay right in the middle of the water column with them. Is the way I work that.
I hear you. That's a good little trick that, you passed along to people that's either in a boat or in a kayak.
Yeah. I mean, that 18 inches don't mean that everybody goes 18 inches. But
right.
You can usually look on the side of the box and it'll tell you how many inches per turn it pulls in.
Right.
I think I've got some ambassadors that 30 inches a turn or something. It's crazy how many of them are. Yeah.
Like your rockets are a lot faster. They take up more line faster than your 65 C3s.
Yeah.
The C3s are a little bit lower geared. I don't know what it is. I don't know if they made them. A lot of them were made for like carp fishermen, where they throw that bait out, and then when they get through, they need to reel it in real fast. So it takes up a lot more line faster.
Or if you're trolling, you're going to want to fast.
Right.
Just like if I'm pulling planer boards, you may have 300 yards of line out pulling planer boards. Time you cast, you drag and weight out.
Yeah.
Put your planer board and then run it out. I mean, that's a lot of line to have to wind up.
Yeah. That's what old Junior Proctor talking about, him using them bobbers. He said, I think I'm very 200 or 300 foot out behind the boat and stuff. I thought, there you go, blue dog fishing. I said, man, whoever gets that fish on that bobber is going to be wore slime out time they get that fish back to your boat.
Them some great planer boards, ain't they, Ryan?
I love them, man. My only problem with them so far is I can't figure clips out that work on braided line. And
You can tell you a little trick to do on the inside of them is put your pair of vice grips on them, squeeze them where they stay open all the time. Get you some E6000 adhesive. You can get it at Walmart, at the auto parts place, and they'll wipe you some E6000 glue on that stuff and let it dry completely for like 24 hours, and it will be amazing. That stuff is waterproof, and it stays kind of spongy, but it won't wear off real easy.
I seen one of Dieter's videos. He had some clips that latch. You know, when you lock them down, they're locked until you pull them up in the boat and you unlatch it.
Oh, yeah.
I've debated on that. You know, at least that way I know they're not going to slip.
Right.
Which it ain't a big deal if they slip a little bit when you're dragging baits with them. But if you're suspend fishing and they start slipping and you're changing depth all the time.
Right.
And that's when it becomes. But Dieter had them, and the only drawback I see to that, I mean, you're trying to wrestle a rod like this and get that planer board without putting slack in the line, and it ain't like I can chase it down, you know, like somebody on a boat can.
Yeah.
That makes a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine that's probably one of the downsides of fishing in a kayak is running planer boards is the fight to get that planer board off without getting slack in your line. And so do you prefer a shorter rod or a longer rod while you're in the boat, kayak?
It honestly depends on what I'm doing. I've got, these are the Muddy River Blue Cat rods I'm dragging with.
Right.
I've got my suspended rods. I like a softer rod, so I've got the Muddy River medium action. I think Chris calls them a channel cat rod, but it's a medium action rod is what it's saying. It's almost the same exact feel to it as one of the white ugly stick catfish rods.
Right.
It almost feels like one of them. It's got a little more back to it, and they've got the metal reel seats. You know, the sticks has got the plastic ones, which I like that. And then the flathead rods, I like them for pulling suspended planer boards because they got that softer tip that lets it give with the board a little bit if you're getting some wake or chop.
Right.
They've got enough backbone on down in there behind them that it'll set the hook when the fish hits the planer board.
Right.
Reaching down. If you see me reach down and I don't really jerk, I'll give that rod just a quick swoop to set the hook. And that's because when that fish pulls on that rod and you're dragging with it, it spins the kayak. You know, a boat is solid. You know, when the fish hits and you're on a boat, it don't move that boat. So you got the pressure to set that hook. Well, this kayak gives. And that's why I like the braided line, because if I've got mono line, that's even more give between the rod and the fish. So I've learned if I reach back and get it and just give it a quick pull, it sets the hook. You can't jerk it, but you got to give it a quick, slow, steady pull. I mean, there's times when they hit, they just take off with it, and you don't have to do it. But
yeah, I know Flint Hill. He does a lot of kayak fishing. You probably watch him, O'Brien.
Right.
He said it. Yeah, he's a good guy. He uses short 5.5 footers. And I think he uses them on the front of his boat, but I still think he uses 7.5 for his dragging rods.
And a lot of people does that. I used to use 10 footers on the back, and I did that to cover more of a spread out each side. But that's before I learned what planer boards was.
Yeah.
I'm still fairly new to the sport of catfishing in general. I've always been a dedicated and fish bass tournaments, you know, my whole life. And I won these Blue Dog planer boards on your all's show. When I first started doing this, you know, getting into y'all's community and everything, I won these planer boards. That's the first thing I ever won off anything on YouTube.
Congratulations. Good.
Heck yeah.
I might as well as learn how to use them, you know, and since I started using them, I've got them out if I'm out here 90% of the time.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We had something I wanted to run by you, but I think it got away from me. Dang, chat's kind of rolling along pretty good tonight.
Don't forget, everybody, hit the thumbs up and share. Go ahead, Lyle. I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. I just remembered what it was. Muskrat Adventures wanting to know, Ryan, what's your your bait and your speed, and he wanted to know where he was fishing, and I believe he told me it was Taylorville Lake.
Yeah, I'm using shad. Try to find one I ain't done cut on. This is just what we got today, so that's what I'm using. I had some drum earlier. I had a carp earlier. It didn't seem to make any difference. I've caught the same little old bitty fish all day on everything I threw out there. Old pieces of tires down there at him. I've got one beating the front rod to death right now. He ain't even big enough to get the bait in his mouth.
Wow.
But it ain't mattered what I threw. I'm going 0.5, and I've tried 0.3 to 0.7 today, just varying it.
Right.
But it don't really seem to matter. It's been the same results every other thing I've tried. It just
them boards, them old Junior Proctor boards, they'll pull out at a real slow speed too. That's what I like about them.
Yeah, that's right.
Good wintertime boards too, because they pull out real slow, and that really give you time to get set up when you ain't really wanting to rush to your spot, wouldn't it, Lyle? Been able to pull out pretty quick like that.
That's exactly right. John Vincent Nolan Catmaster says, surprised you can get in Taylorville for all the jugs.
Yeah, I posted something on Facebook the other day. There was one guy in one boat up here the other day, had over 200 noodle floats.
Isn't there a limit in your state on that?
If 25 per person, 50 max per boat. But
how can he have 200 then?
Because there ain't nobody to enforce it. We had some guys had trot lines set out down here. 4 weeks ago, I come out here. 5 weeks ago, I come out here for that autism tournament. And there was 5 trot lines set down here. All 5 of them had the same numbers on them. Here you got to put your fishing license ID number on your trot lines and limb lines. Every one of their noodles is supposed to have it.
Yeah.
And I come down there and seen them there, and I come back the next day, and they were still there. I come back 2 days after that, and they were still there and had dead fish floating up on them.
Oh.
Well, I called Jim Duke's the guy's name. He used to be a conservation officer here. They moved him to another district now. But I've talked to him out here on the lake 100 times, right below me. So I knew he'd put me in contact with somebody or get something done about it. I called him up, and he said, well, send me pictures of it, and I'll see what I can get done. He called me back and said they're supposed to be taken care of. I said, okay. I said, at least somebody's on it.
Yeah.
I come back a week later. They're still there.
Wow.
So I called Jim. I said, look, I called. I said, but they ain't doing nothing. I was like, they're still floating here just like they was, 2 weeks ago. So I called, I got online and got the state FW, whatever Fish and Wildlife website is there. And I got the number out there, and I called it, and I left a message. Well, it took them 3 days. They called me back, and it was the game warden for this local area. He said, yeah, I heard you. He said, I got your message that you had a complaint. Somebody's breaking the law with trot lines. I said, they some been 2 weeks now. Ain't nobody pulled them up. There's dead fish floating on them. They got their numbers on it. He said, write this number down and send me them pictures you've got. I said, all right. I did all that, and to this day, there's still one of the trot lines in there. Somebody else come in and cut the rest of them up, and the game warden told me, he said, do not touch it. He said, that's a charge that you'll catch and a fine you'll pay for messing with that line. But then you can come up here and do nothing about it.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're between a rock and a hard place.
That's right.
Yeah. Jay Fox, happy 4th to you too, my friend.
Mark, thanks so much for sharing all those links out. We appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate that, Mark. It is sad that, we can't even, and I mean, I understand where they're coming from, but if they're not going to do the job, that makes you just want to go down through there and collect every freaking one of them all and take them out of the water because there's dead fish on them, and that's BS,
That's right.
And like these noodles, they're supposed to have their jug noodles, whatever you want to call it. they're supposed to have their identification on every single one of them jugs or every single one of them.
Yeah, same way here.
This area I am in right here right now and pick up 50 of them that's just washed up on the bank, you know, where they've lost them. I come out here a couple weeks ago. There was this was an accident and they didn't mean for it to happen. Still should have come back and picked their stuff. Just about where I'm at, they was a guy flipped. There was 3 guys on a little old John boat setting out noodles, and they flipped it about halfway through setting them out. And they was supposed to come back the next day and pick them all up. Well, I couldn't be back out that evening. Me and my wife brought my boat, you know, and we just come out here right, you know, just hoping to get her on small fish or something playing. And I ended up cutting 3 fish off of them noodles, and them guys still hadn't showed back up. And we picked up, I don't know how many of them, you know, that we could find just running around looking for them.
Wow.
But they wasn't one of them had no identification or nothing.
You know, they don't cost a whole lot to make those. If you're talking about the pool noodle ones, they're not really expensive to make, but there's still money involved in your time.
Yeah.
If I went to all the trouble to make them, I sure wouldn't leave them out there and let somebody just take them home with them because I got me a mess of fish one time.
Well, in my logic, if you come out here and you set out 50 noodles, you better go home with 50 noodles.
That's right. That's just like putting trash out on the water or the boat ramp or anything else.
That if you take 49 of them and leave one, you probably just killed a fish because that bait's going to hang out here until it eventually gets something.
That's right.
Whether it's a turtle, a catfish, or something, something's going to eat it.
Yep, I agree.
Yep, I don't like wasted fish. That's why, you know, there's a lot of other stuff that goes on that's legal. I don't like it, but, you know, what can you do? All right, now you out there, Ryan, and you told me that you've been out there since 7 this morning. You put in some long hours. Now, do you usually put in those long hours on your fishing trips, or do you ever just take a day and say, all right, I'm out of work early, I'm going to go out here for a couple hours?
I can do that, but if I'm not out here getting it, them other boys are.
Yeah, there you go.
Just like Thursday, I got off work and come home, and I took a nap until Lindsay got off work. She got home, and I got up, and I spent some time with her, and, you know, hung out there at the house, and it started getting about this time of day, and I said, I'm gone. And I in until the next night. And I think it was a 20-hour trip I pulled. It was between 18 and 20 hours I pulled. But I come in with 2 fish. One was over 20 and one was over 30. You know, had me sitting in first place for my tournament. I was pretty happy with that. And then yesterday morning, and I was in second place.
I have a question for you about being out there at night.
All right.
What kind of lights do you have on there so them boat guys can see you?
I've got one here somewhere. I've got my headlamp.
Uh-huh.
And I keep it. Most of the time I'm sitting here with it off because of the bugs. But
right.
I hear a boat coming, I can see it for a long way on any side of me where I'm fishing at. And then everything's a wreck from being out here all day. And then I've got this, and that's a UV light on the side, like a black light. And then on this side, it's a regular white light, you know, and you can see that for miles.
Okay.
And I got this on the back of the kayak, and I've got the UV light pointed forward and the white light on pointed backwards. So everybody. Right. And then if somebody's coming at me from the front, I'll pop my headlight on real quick.
Okay. Because I know they're not like a regular boat, and they're depending on which state and stuff that you're in, that you don't have to have the same stuff as a regular boat has to have. But nobody wants to see somebody get run over fishing at night either.
Yeah, and for the most part at night, you've got your catfish guys out here, and they're not running up and down Lake Wide Open. You know, we have a tournament usually about once a month for a big boat tournament. And then they have on, I think Friday nights, they have a bass tournament down on the other end of the lake. But them guys usually ain't up this far. The bass fishing up here is not that great. And it's a long way from here to there. Well, at night, it's a long way.
Yeah. Now, do you have speed limits for nighttime fishing there?
Whatever you can run.
Yeah. So here there's speed limits, and I trying to think. I think it's 35.
If it is, I've never seen anybody enforce it. I'll put it that way.
Well, right now they're not enforcing nothing.
Yeah.
They just don't. Nobody's enforcing anything unless they catch you speeding. They'll give you a ticket for that because that's easy money.
Everything, this lake and everything around it is Taylorsville Lake State Park. So we've got game wardens and park rangers that patrol the lake. The first time this year, I saw the park rangers up here earlier, and there was probably 10 or 15 boats up in here, and they come up in here and idled up to the back end and turned and idled back down there. Never stopped and talked to one person. And I mean, Jim, when he was out here, he was the conservation officer. He would stop and talk to every single boat. I don't care if it took him all day. You know, and to me, that's what they need to be doing. I mean, they don't have to come over and ask you for your fire extinguisher and your fishing license and all this every time, you know. Come over and talk to people, and you can pretty much tell which ones are doing something they ain't supposed to right off the get-go.
Yeah, they got a guilty conscience.
Crazy Catfishing's in the house with us tonight. Yeah, I thought when you was messing before we went live, you was messing with your camera and your phone. It looked like you had a tower light that was sticking up in the air.
No,
in front of you.
My trolling motor.
Oh, okay.
I've got a regular Minn Kota rip tied off of a big boat. I need to cut it down, but I just never have cut it down. I bolted it to the kayak when I went and bought it, and I ain't never took the time to cut it down. If I spend an hour cutting that trolling motor down, that's an hour I should have been out here for.
Right. Carolina Catfish is in the house.
Any
kind of safety things that you want to share with anybody about being out there?
If you're
David Funk,
and I don't care, just I mean, I'm pretty experienced. I've got 40 hours of kayaking in this week, so I mean, I'm pretty experienced. Right here, find you a good PFD and wear it. It don't do you no good if it's sitting there behind you.
That's fact.
No.
I used to be the world's worst. It took my buddy that got me into this, Shane Waldridge. It took him a long time to get me to start wearing a life jacket. And honestly, the only thing he did that made me start wearing it, he said, if you're in one of our tournaments, you got to have that on. But when he come at me one day and he said, look, man, he said, you can swim like a fish. He said, but you go in that water and you got 85-pound braided line on your rod.
Yep.
Wrapped around your legs, you ain't swimming. He said, you ain't going home to your family. He said, who's going to take care of them? I said, all right, you win. And I went and bought this one. I had a little old cheap one then, and I went and ordered this one that day and made a trip without it. You know, I'll take it off and put my shirt, I take my shirt off or put my shirt on or put more clothes on or whatever, but it goes right straight back on.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest safety thing you can have. Number one.
Yep.
Number two, I always make sure somebody knows where you're at and where you're going at all times. We've got several of us in a messenger group that's real good friends. We always tell each other where we're going, how long we're going to be there. You know, we're always messaging each other. Hey, you alive? You know, you doing any good? Just something, you know.
Right.
We share GPS locations with each other a lot. You know, I've got my set for 4 or 5 different people through the iPhone thing there. 4 or 5 different people can tell you where I'm at anytime, anywhere. Where I'm at work, whatever. They can pull their phone up and tell you exactly where I'm sitting at.
Cool.
And
cool.
I mean, like we was talking about earlier, you know, it may not be nothing but to help them recover a body, but if I try to call somebody, you know, I go in the water and I'm in trouble, and I try to call somebody and I get help, and that's all I can get out, and I drop my phone or my phone gets wet and quits working or whatever. They can pull that up and see where I was at when I made that call.
Yep.
You know, a lot of people wear dry suits in the wintertime. That's a big safety issue I've been debating on. You know, I wear my regular Carhartt bibs and my Carhartt coat and all that in the wintertime. if I go in, I ain't swimming. Sure. You know, a pair of work boots and all them clothes, you ain't swimming in that.
Nah, you better come out of it.
And you're honestly hoping your life jacket works at that point. I mean, that's
Yeah. Yeah, and they don't always.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, well, that's just like some of our guys, they got a lot of pockets in some of these life jackets, you know, and that's how they carry their tackle. You know, I mean, you don't need a lot of tackle catfishing, but you've got 4 or 5 pounds of lead and, you know, all that puts a lot of weight on a life jacket.
Well, I know Doc Lang is the most resourceful person I know about wearing a life jacket. He wears one. He's got it on basically by the time he gets out of his truck until you come in at night.
Yeah.
It's rare that you see Doc without one on.
And I don't.
Rare. And his didn't open one time. So
I don't trust them at all. I don't self-inflatable people at all. They're still fairly new. You know what I mean?
Yeah, compared to a lot of other stuff.
Anybody that's ever took a hunter's education course, one of the main things they teach you is the safety on a gun is a mechanical device that sometimes fails.
Yeah,
that's right.
Fails at some point. Do you
want and I mean, it's not somebody said on here, I forget who it was. There's a ton of people that actually get knocked out and you're not able to do anything. So you need a good life jacket that is going to turn you head face up.
Yeah.
That's exactly what David Crowley just posted. He used to be a firefighter and a paramedic, and he can't tell you how many people that could swim very well drowned because they stuck their head and were unconscious.
Yeah, yep. And a good life preserver will turn you face up in the water.
That's right.
Not face down.
The front, I mean, you can see it's got a lot of foam up here in the front, but the back is real narrow.
Right.
We'll make that front come up first. You know, the front's going to automatically. So
and what brand is that, Ryan?
This is a NRS, and they're surprisingly not too bad. This brand is made just for kayaks, so it's got the low back on it that don't really bother you when you sit back in the seat. And I think I give like $80 for it or something. I mean, if
that's very reasonable,
it's worth that.
Hey, you daggone right. The $80 can't replace your life.
I mean,
that's very reasonable.
I ain't coming back no more, so I'm trying not to go home dead.
Well, I'll tell you a little story that doesn't have anything to do with fishing, really. But I used to duck hunt a lot. And I was always running late, or whenever I'd leave to go duck hunting, there's nobody on the road with me, and I run fast I want to. And I got stopped by State Highway Patrol one day going duck hunting. We had a lease lake, and I wasn't pulling a boat or anything. And I was probably running 80 mile an hour. And he was in the other set on the interstate, and he flashed him lights, turned around, and come pull me over. And he said, man, since you go up through here a lot early in the mornings, that you must have a pretty good place to duck hunt. I said, I do. He said, what's the rush? You got plenty of time. I said, I want to get up there and get set up. He said, well, you're going to have to slow it down. He said, because I see you 2 or 3 times a week, and you're always going over the speed limit. And today you was over the limit that I could allow. He said, I'm going to let you go. He said, but don't make me have to call your family and tell them to come get what's left of you and that dog. He said, you just slow it down. Them ducks will be there when you get there.
Yeah.
And that was okay till he was out of sight. And then, of course, I was running 80 miles an hour.
Hammer down again.
Yeah, just let it rip. In those days, I was young enough. I didn't pay much attention, but it made a lot of sense. It really did.
Yeah. He don't want to have to write you a ticket. He'd rather see you go home to your family than have to scoop your body up off the road.
I'm quite sure that they get pretty tired of that, I imagine.
Oh yeah. So Ryan, you getting ready to change your baits out?
Checking them. I'm going to turn around and drag back and I'm getting down here into where the trash is at.
I hear you.
There's so much trash floating. Drag on down through here.
So how much daylight you got left there?
Probably I'd say about an hour.
Really?
Right now, time to get a monster.
Yeah. That's right.
Fish.
Yep. It's monster 30 right now.
And
It is.
more big fish between the hour before dark and the hour after dark, and that time of day than I have the rest of the hours in the day put together.
I caught some of my biggest fish at 12 o'clock noon. Just sitting back, relaxing, thinking, man, it's time now just to eat a sandwich, keep back, relax. Then in an hour or so, we'll change baits up. And then they say, you know, one of them rods has been out there about 3 or 4 hours. They ain't had nothing on it. Gets hammered.
Yeah. And I'm bad to sit and think myself into needing to change baits out. You know what I mean? Just like today, I was like, that bait, I ain't changing it out. Them dink fish are just going to beat it off there in a minute. Well, one of them had been on there for like 2 hours. 90-degree water, that's a little excessive to leave bait on it. And that's actually the one that I had hook up and pop my leader line. That was a rookie mistake that shouldn't have happened. We won't talk about it.
But it does happen to all of us.
Yes. Yes, it does.
I retied all 3 of these other rods, and they all had new leaders. Last time I was out here, I tied new leaders up for all 3 of them. And this one back here had broke off the trip before that. And I said, well, it don't need no new leader. And when I pulled it out of the truck today, I noticed that where I'd had the Demon Dragon loop through the line, it was all curly-cued. And I said, I better change that. I did. Lazy, and it cost me a fish today.
Yeah, that'll happen. David Crowley has made another post. He said, I'll use a Mustang Survival, the same one that the United States USSS uses. It's an inflatable. And David, I believe that's the exact unit that Doc had, that he had for years, that didn't open on him. And the last I knew, and I need to get a hold of him and find out, but they had taken his unit and it was going to go to the Coast Guard first and then to the manufacturer, to Mustang, because they wanted to find out what caused it from opening up on him.
Our government's not known for using the best of equipment.
Well, the reason Doc bought that was at the time he bought it, he bought him and Lynn one, I believe, and it was the best that you could buy at that time. And they're still very highly rated with all the rest of them. We have a Bass Pro Shop, when Cindy and I both do, and they are supposedly the best one that they offer. But, you know, what's best today may or may not be tomorrow, and vice versa, you know.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Now, a lot of them self-inflating like that, when you get them, are they ready to use right then, or is there anything that you have to do to them?
Some of them are and some of them aren't. The first one we got, Cindy and I wore them religiously for 3 years, and it come time to change the little thing in there that you have to change every 3 years, and you couldn't rearm it, and it had never been armed. We'd been wearing them things, and it didn't matter what was going to happen. They was never going to go off. We bought them. They said they was ready to go. We took their word for it. And if anything had happened, we could have drowned because they never was armed. And then we tried to arm them and bought 2 or 3 arming devices, and you couldn't arm them. And we even took it back to Bass Pro. They couldn't arm them. We threw them away and bought new ones, and we've rearmed them once since, but they've never went off.
Lyle, we've had an alarm on our house since we bought it. There was an alarm system on our house. And until something bad went wrong with it and the guy come out and had to work on it, we'd been setting that thing wrong the whole time. That alarm had never been set on our house for over 15 freaking years.
Yeah. Yep.
So, Don, I said, well, good thing the crackheads didn't break in while we was out somewhere.
That's exactly right.
Now, David, I'm looking at the shoreline over through there. Do you ever drag down shorelines if you got a channel or something that drags close to the shore?
That's why I was dragging where I started just a minute ago. That's a real steep drop right there, and it drops off and it kind of shelves off out here right at where I'm at right now. And I don't even have to look at the fish finder to know where it's at. I've drug it so many times, but
right,
we drag just out there. See that shoreline? There's trees out there that's fell out of the woods and fell down into it. And I usually try to drag right about the tips of them trees. I just get just as close as I can get without getting them.
Right.
and I do that going. I'll move over here. There's about a 1 foot ledge right here. Yeah, it's right at a foot that it drops off right here where I'm at now. And I try to hold that bait on top of the ledge and this bait on the bottom.
I hear you.
Try to run that.
We have a question by Mr. Rob Mack. Would like to know if you're using cut or live bait.
Cut bait today. I don't. When it's hot like this outside in the daytime, it's hard to keep live bait alive on a kite.
Yeah, it is a lot of other places too, but especially you're so limited on space. I could just see it. It'd be terribly hard to do.
But I mean, I've got a 5 gallon bucket that I usually keep for bluegill. It's got the bait lid and all that, like the hose aerator on. But in the daytime, I just have to either change them water continuously or they die.
Right.
Take your bucket and put your pool noodle around the top and drill holes in the side of it and just set it off the side of the boat.
If I got the trolling motor, that's been an idea I've had to do. That didn't hook up either. But that's I've had for a while.
Well, I'm waiting to see a fish.
That's
Can't catch them on credit, can you?
But with if you're there's one slammed the rod down, he just wasn't big enough to get the hook in his mouth. He wanted it. he was gonna get it, but he got what he wanted to play. But now if I'm paddling, this is actually a kayak, and if you're paddling it, that bucket idea creates a lot of drag. That's just like dragging a drift sock.
Right.
That'd make a lot of work on a man paddling. And got the trolling motor, it does all the work for me.
I like that a lot better if I was doing it.
Yeah.
It just makes it to where I can stay out here longer. I mean, I can drag just as efficient, fish the same spots, without the trolling motor as I do with it. But I can do it a lot longer with that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't have the spot lock or course heading or any of that on it. It's just the plain Jane remote control. I have to drive it everywhere it goes, but it's a lot better than pedaling.
You daggone right. I agree with that 100%.
Richard Cluck, thank you so much. Welcome to Catfish Weekly. I don't believe I've seen you in our chat before tonight. We're glad to have you.
Yeah, he's been in here. He comes to my show. Yep.
Okay.
No,
I missed him then.
Yep. Appreciate that, Richard. Ryan, now where do you launch at? You got a specific ramp that you launch at? Is it a good ramp, or is it just, I know some of the ramps.
I'm on a trailer. I mean, I back my kayak in just like a boat.
I hear you. So how far up the river are you from your ramp right now?
I can see it just barely.
Okay.
I'm looking at it right now. If you didn't know it was there, you couldn't see it.
So you're not really having to go that far to actually get into decent fishing water, are you?
No, but the thing about it is everybody knows about these places.
Well, that's true.
But it's not like putting them on YouTube's going to run them. You know what I mean?
They're bluefish.
Your nose to fish this area.
Yeah.
But a lot of people won't put the time into it. I mean, you may come up here and spend 18 hours dragging and catch one fish. And from 18th hour to the 19th hour, you may load the boat. I mean, it's just when they turn on, and when they ain't, they ain't.
Yeah.
Be here. And I'm figuring out the patterns on them of what barometric pressure and weather patterns. I can't put a pattern on it. I mean, I
just go fishing,
but they're fish.
Yeah,
fish do.
I think Dieter said it better than anything. Lyle and Ryan is just go fishing.
Just go.
That's right. I agree.
I'm at home or I ain't at work. I'm here. I mean, you ain't gonna catch none at the house. That's a guarantee. I won't catch. I catch there.
That's a fact.
If I'm with baits in the water, that 80 pound may be there that day.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
The day I caught my PB, which ain't big compared to some people at 44, but I had a flat tire on my boat before I ever left the driveway. It was hot and miserable. I never got me any freaking bait to get out there. It was a constant battle, and I was bound and determined to prove the daggone fish gods that I was still going. I didn't give a crap what they throwed at me. I was still going, and that got out there, and it was miserable. The wind wasn't blowing. It was just sticky. And I was putting fish on the boat left and right when that big one finally took off. And I thought it made my day. And I went live. It was pretty cool. So,
my PB actually, it's probably still my PB by weight. I didn't get a weight on just holding the fish. I mean, it was a good one. Was right up from where I'm at right here. I come out here with, I think I got 5 kayaks down here with night. I mean, it was a hot summer night. You know, everybody wanted to go. I loaded and brought as many as I could get on there. And we were up there, and I had a monster hooked. I mean, I had a really nice fish hooked, and I got it right up to the side of the kayak. It's to put my hand in its mouth to pull it up in the kayak. Hook went flying over my head. And Shane, the one that got me into this, he said, "Oh man, I have a heartbreak from here." And I mean, I wanted to just reel my rods up and go home. I mean, I ain't got no lies to tell. I wanted to leave right then, but I had 5 other people with me, you know, and I wasn't running. Yeah. So I went off to myself over on the other side of the lake. Went over to Sulks. I went over around nobody, and I got over and I sat there about 45 minutes. Rods just bobbled. And I thought, there's one of them old dink fish, you know. And it just kept going and kept going and kept going. And when the last fishing rod went in the lake, I reached down and grabbed it and couldn't get it out of the rod holder. And I said, that's redemption is what that is.
That's right. As Life says, Ryan makes me want to upgrade the yak. He looks like he's at home on the water.
Oh, I'm usually sitting here, feet propped up.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Abbott, I've been quiet. I've been waiting on a guy that keeps making derogatory comments in our chat. The next time he does, I'm going to get rid of him. So I've been watching out for him. He done it last week, and we timed him out. And he come in and done it already once tonight, and I guess he skipped out. But the next time, he's adios.
Yeah,
I'm not going to tolerate that. We don't put up with negativity on here, and we're not going to. And guys like him think they're the greatest thing in our sport, and in fact, he's probably one of the worst there is. So I will cut him loose.
Yep.
Ryan, tell everybody again how they can find you on social media and what you got upcoming going on. We're running on about an hour and going to cut out of here in just a little bit so Mark can get his Catfish and Crappie show going.
You can find me on Facebook, Ryan Bortz. I got a picture of me holding a big catfish. Most of anything I post on there is fishing related. You know, if it ain't fishing or my kids, it don't normally go on there. You can look me up on YouTube, Ryan Bortz, Blue Collar Fishing. I do some live streams on there. I've got a few videos. I don't have a whole lot. My videos ain't the greatest quality, but
something that you have to think about, Ryan, is you need to let the people that watch your videos determine that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know best quality. You know what I mean?
But are they watching them?
But I mean, I'm toward getting better on that slowly.
We all do. That's what it takes.
Yep.
Well, Ryan, we appreciate you coming on the show with us tonight. We'll have to get you back on here again and do this again. It's a really fun show when you're fishing and doing a show with us. So we're going to have to try that again before cold weather hits.
Anytime for sure. Oh, it don't matter if it's cold or not.
I know you're going to be out there. I know you are. Well, thank you so much for helping us out.
Yes.
And stay in touch, my friend. Maybe we'll get together sometime this summer or this fall.
All right. Thanks for having me on the show, buddy.
Be safe out there, buddy.
Always.
All right,
James, do you have any closing statements?
No, sir. I just want him to be safe out on the water and appreciate you
Absolutely.
coming on there with us, Rise. Don't forget, guys, Mark will be coming on here in just a second. In fact, he's probably up right now. Go check him out. God bless each and every one of you, and happy 4th of July.
Absolutely. Be sure to tune in to Mark over on Catfish and Crappie. He has a guest, and the guest's name is Austin Higgins. Should make for a good show. Be sure to tune in to that. Patriot James on Wednesdays. Fishing with the Chad and James Dockery on Thursday, and then Panfish Nation. See everybody next Monday night.
Muskrats on Tuesday nights.
Oh, yeah, I forget about them. I can't keep up with them, James. There's just too many.
There's a lot coming on.
There's just too many of them anymore. See ya.
Be careful.